Yeah.
When Web 1 came around, we just had a blank page where you can just go. If this was online, you could just see it, not interact with it, not like it, nothing. Then there was Web 2, which we're using now. Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, all these tools, right? A DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. Basically, you see what I mean? In Web 3 terms, you can't understand. But in Web 2 terms, it's a circle. In the Web 3 space, do your own research. It's important for you to know more. With Web 3, the one thing that you always need to remember is community. It is about together. It is not you alone anymore. If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the My Tech Story Africa podcast. My name is Alice Kanjeja, your lovely host, and I am excited for today's episode because we are taking a deep dive into a topic that we are yet to explore much more on, and that is blockchain and Web3 and crypto and all the likes. Before we get into that, this is your reminder to subscribe from wherever you're listening from, whether that's on YouTube, Spotify, or any of the major listening platforms. Check out our website as well at mtsafrica.co and subscribe to our newsletters at mtsafrica.co/join. That being said, I'm going to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to our audience. Thank you for being here.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Mohamed Aziz. I'm a community director at KibokoDAO. We are focused on development and advocacy in the Web3 space. The idea for us is we need to bridge both tech and the non-technical to be able to bring an ecosystem into the Web3 space,
You're speaking my language, trying to bridge the tech and the non-tech to a way that is consumable. So and that's what we're getting into today. Maybe you can just tell us a brief background of your story. Where did it begin? Were you always interested in tech? Like, walk us through your journey to get here.
That's amazing. So I come from production. I'm marketing and production. So for very many years, so I started in marketing for 15 years, and then production had been a passion of mine for a very long time, being that my mom and my dad both had studios growing up.
Wow.
So it was drilled into me, let's say that. So in my life, I always knew that I was going into production. Like, when you have a family of lawyers, you assume that everybody's going to try and go into law, right? So that's what happened. But not everybody in my family was interested in production. They went in their own fields, but I took the passion, and that's how I find myself in tech. I started shooting conferences and events. And, when you're behind the camera and when you're editing, somehow you start listening to that conversation so many times that you understand things that you didn't think you should understand. I understood the tech. And eventually, like it was a year ago, I got a chance to MC an event. It was my first time. So somebody called me up and they were like, we're lacking here, and can you come and fill the spot? And I was like, okay, come through. So I didn't even know by that time that I had all the information that we're talking about. Like, I didn't know that I knew the tech that I was going to sell, metaverse, AI, how to use it. I just thought I use these tools for fun. I play on VR. And it so happened that after that, I started listening to what they're saying, project, all these things they're saying in tech terms, they're all relatable in Web 2 terms. It's a startup. When you say project, it's a startup. When you say submitting, it's basically an application. So for me, I started asking myself, like, you're saying that people want money in Kenya. There's no opportunities in Kenya, but there's money being given away for free, for nothing, just a grant. Here's 10 million, 80,000 USD, just take it.
I mean, for free is the one way to look at it.
For free is relative, because ideally you're making your own future, right? So when somebody gives you money to build your dream, isn't that for free? Like, they've supported you for nothing. Most people don't get that. So I started talking to more technical people, and I started finding a spot in the communications of this technology, like telling people that it's not that hard, walking you through it, not telling you about the code, the solidity, the move, not telling you about that, just telling you that that's the developer's business. Your business is to create an opportunity and solve real world problems. So come here and listen and just see how you can scale. Because Web3 is the future. When Web 1 came around, we just had You can have blank page where you can just go. If this was online, you could just see it, not interact with it, not like it, nothing. Then there was Web 2, which we're using now. Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, all these tools, right? But Web 3 allows you, for example, we could put this podcast on the blockchain and ideally bring subscribers in the form of members. Those members are going to give you money to support this initiative and make sure that it scales. You can create this in Nigeria. You can have this in South Africa. You don't have to do it alone. You've created the vision. So you only need money to scale. And that's a mission right now. With Web3, ideally, it will be a wave. You can see right now we have cryptocurrency on the news with the government. It's something that, when the government is looking at it, there's an opportunity. They're seeing money. There's billions of dollars going through the network every day. Every day.
Thank you for giving us that overview. I think that gives us a really good idea of what we are going to be discussing in this episode. Do you want to give us a bit of background on the KibokoDAO and what a DAO is? I think we really need to let people know what we're talking about when we're talking about this conversation.
A DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. Basically, you see what I mean? In tech terms, in Web3 terms, you can't understand. But in Web2 terms, it's a circle. It's simple.
It's a circle.
It's a circle. So it's a circle of developers, right? So they came and started the circle where they can fund their own initiatives, where they can create opportunities, where they can ideally advocate for this technology to be more mainstream.
And what would you say would add some of the biggest, I think, trying to make my audience understand how the significance of Web3 and what it can do. What are the differences that you would say from Web 2 and Web 3, and why this is important for us to start taking note of?
There's no difference. That's
There's
the funny
no difference.
thing. That's the thing. The lingo.
Why should people move to
It's better.
Web 3?
It's better.
Okay, what makes it?
Ideally, when people say Web 2, Web 3, I'm just, these terminologies, let's leave them aside for a minute.
We're putting them aside.
Yeah. So it's technology.
It's technology.
Yeah. So you want to do, let me give you an example of a technology that you use that is a centralized blockchain.
Yeah.
Everybody in Kenya uses it, M-Pesa. M-Pesa, when you put money in, it's not cash.
Yeah.
What is it?
Digitized.
It's digital money. It belongs to who? Safaricom.
A centralized, yeah.
Sorry, right?
Safaricom.
Yeah. So M-Pesa. So if it was on blockchain, it would be Bitcoin, but it's M-Pesa. You get what I mean? The name of, if it was on chain for real, like the open market, it would be called M-Pesa, the coin. That's the token. So everybody uses it. We have already become so, use it every day. You don't use cash anymore. So that's the idea. Technology, that's the thing you can do. You can build whatever you want. You can have, like, there's a guy I was talking to earlier today. He has an avocado farm. So he has put avocados on chain. So you buy a tree. He maintains the tree. When the tree yields fruits, he sells them. And then when he sells them, he gives you dividends. So anybody in the world can own a tree. This Project Mocha, those guys, they're focused on, selling coffee plants. So from, let's call it farm to fork, because that's the one we know. But ideally, they want to create the whole value chain. They want to bring back to the farmers. So when you contribute your tree, there's value you're going to get back. So anything, the words, leave them aside. Focus on the problem. What do you want to do? Like, for example, I was telling you, you could do a podcast. We have a partner of ours called Lisk. You can do anything. You can have this podcast. The only thing you're doing is this. The only difference is that you're putting it on chain. On chain means it cannot be changed. It cannot be altered. You can see, everybody can see. It's a public ledger. That's what it is.
Yes.
So that's the difference, for accountability's sake. How many companies have we seen? Money went in, we don't know where it went. So here on the blockchain, I can trust you because you will have to show the receipts. That's all. You just have to show your homework when you do it.
And sorry to interrupt you. And what are some of the things that you've seen as of now, or people right now are working on in the Web3 space to show this as proof of concept?
A lot, man. As in, there's a lot of technologies.
Or what are some of your favorite projects in Web3?
I wouldn't say favorite, because for me, I'm agnostic. I love them all, right? but mostly they're in the fintech space. Mostly they're solving money problems because everybody knows they're unbanked. That's what M-Pesa is covering, and that's the target audience, right? So that's one. Those mostly projects are there. So what I can say is the space is young. It's waiting for that burst of people, of ideas. That's why I came in and I started doing the Youth Month campaign, because I realized that the space is heavily saturated with developers. The communities aren't growing. There's no marketeers. There's no mobilizers. There's no people I've worked with. Production guys. Production is an afterthought. We're doing a training. Okay, virtual. Turn on your camera on your computer. I'm like, no. Aesthetics, sound. How does your internet cut off? Record that thing. And
so you feel that there's the focus that is on the Web3 space, a lot of it is on the developers, and so that is not giving more opportunities for more people to discover what's happening in the Web3 space.
Yeah. So ideally, the thing is, you have to first teach the people who are going to build. So that's what's been happening for the last 2 years. In 2018, when Bitcoin boomed and everybody made money, no people knew. Now they know, right? So the developers found out about that, and they started investing their time in building on the blockchain. Decentralized finance, regenerative finance. These are all things finance is finance, right? ReFi is basically regenerative finance is what would do with green energy, carbon credits. That's what it is. It's just called ReFi on the blockchain. So you can bring anything, but the builders had to learn how to build it. Now they know. So now there needs to be sensitization for businesses, not for people. People know. You know about Bitcoin, don't you? So ideally, it's now for businesses to know that the technology is there, people, the builders are there, and the money is there.
Yeah.
Right? Once you know that, the opportunity, and they're willing to work with you. Imagine when the internet started and we were doing sensitization for the internet. There was a guy, like, I remember my grandfather. My grandfather he didn't have a phone, even a feature phone. He was like, if you need me, you'll come here. My father had a feature phone. When smartphones came out, he had one, but he has his feature phone. Now, no one has a feature phone if you have the chance to buy a smartphone. Technology will come and it will take over. And right now, like those days, funding was accessible. In Web2, you'd come up with a silly idea. I want to save the rhinos. Money is thrown at you. Now it's harder because the technology has grown, the opportunities have been milked or mined, and now the situation is where it is with Web2. You have the Netflix, the Googles. Competition, no more competition. Amazon comes in, takes their slot. Alibaba takes their slot. It's a monopoly. But with Web3, we can create a company that is owned by everybody. And this is not a video on demand platform. Owned by the people. All through. And when we pay subscription, at the end of the year, we get dividends from said subscription. The filmmakers, we don't go and have a board of people sitting there and telling you, we don't like you. We don't like this thing you've produced. No. The community will get a view of what you have, and they can decide if it's interesting to them. The idea is, like, you can ask most filmmakers in the industry, you have to sell to the audience. So when you're going to do a TV show, it has to be a certain way for you to be able to sell it. It's not the best idea. It's not the best thing you can do. But you're doing that because of the money. That's what we're doing. And at some point, it becomes so frustrating doing that work again and again and not getting value out of it. So Web3 will give us access to that money.
I have a question with that, especially in terms of structure, which is always a point of contender when it comes to talk conversations on blockchain and crypto. Some would argue that decentralization is where people need to be as the next step. I mean, I have my full-on support in this, having the opportunity to transform lives. I think there's a school of thought that maybe structure isn't too bad because there was a reason why structure was put in the first place. Decentralization. I know in the blockchain, there's a ledger, you can see where transactions have been made at what time by whom, but there's also, on the flip side, a lot of, fraudulent activities that are tied to blockchain and crypto. So what are some of the, I guess my question is, what are some of the downsides of integrating this Web3 into our lives, or at least at beginning to do it? And what are some of the solutions that are there to curb the downsides of Web3?
Okay. Like any good thing, there's both sides, right? Like money, for example. You have it, right?
Yeah.
Where did it come from?
I hope so.
You did. So where did the money come from?
Where did the money come from?
Whose hands did it go through? Was there at one point, did that money touch a drug dealer's hand? Do you know?
Probably not.
You see what I mean? So ideally, as long as you aren't fraudulent, it's the same as anything else in the world. I don't know why people misconceive the idea of decentralized, meaning that there's no structure.
Yeah.
The same way you operate in your company, in your business, the senior, the management, the teams, they all exist. Decentralized just means that guy could be in China.
Yeah.
And contributing to this project.
Yes.
So we make it a global village. No longer just people in Kenya can work with you. No. And the idea is, you see, when we work right now, we work, do the events, do everything, push the agenda, and then the money comes. Who takes the money? The CEO, the boss, the founder.
Yeah.
In this instance, we are the founders. That's the only difference. We own the company. So when the money comes, you who works in the company, not shares, you have tokens. That's just different semantics. It's just words that are different, but they mean the same.
Yeah.
Like, these people are there to give you that opportunity.
Yeah.
But you're worried about, you mean decentralized, like NFT, digital art. No, you take your piece of art and make it a non-fungible token and put it on chain. Somebody can buy it and you'll send it to them.
Yeah.
It's just...
It makes it easier.
Yeah, it's just an underlayer of technology. The same problems that, like you tell me banks don't do money laundering. You're telling me that.
I wouldn't know if they do money laundering.
No, I'm just asking. Like, we check the news a couple of days back and you'll see what happens, right?
Yeah. Probably there is obviously going to be cases like that when it comes to money. I think the problem is that we're encountering is that the amplification of the problems of blockchain and Web3 sometimes overlook the good and make it less difficult for people to trust in the system, even though there's proof that it works. I think I'm going to bring in the conversation of regulation. As you've said, anybody can start building something from the ground up, maybe create a DAO, have things going on. But the biggest challenge that we have, not only on an African context, on a global context, for a lot of fields, even if it's fintech, whatever, I'm pretty sure 10 times worse in the blockchain and crypto space. This is something that, of course, centralized institutions are not vouching for, one. And two, there are a lot of startups that are shut down time and time again when they start mentioning things to do with blockchain, crypto association. We had the other one here in Nairobi the other day that had the iris scan for WorldCoin, which seemed to have potential, but immediately gets traction. There's, pushback. So what's your take on regulation?
So for one, I'll just say it's the people. Regulation is regulation, but laws are created to protect the people. That's all it is. As I told you earlier, this space is young. Like any space, like I'd say 20 years ago, things on the internet weren't that good. On the internet, on Web 2, your parents would be told, don't be on the internet. Because they know pop-ups, ads, right? And eventually, now they don't pop up anymore. Why? We learned. We adapted. This is a new space. It's new technology. It's a baby. Who is going to build the technology? Us. I like this word from South Africa that says it's Ubuntu. Yeah. Together we are, right? I am because we are. And it's that mentality of let's do it, let's break it, build it, like anything. When you're building the first car, when the Wright brothers were building the first plane, they crashed a couple of times. Right now, the thing is amplification of said problems is bigger because of the internet, social media. People focus on the problem. And I think a couple of guys have seen this video of a lecturer writing on a whiteboard, and then at the last problem, he writes the wrong answer, and everybody in the class starts making fun of him. And then he turns and says, I did that purposely to prove to you something. I can do something 100 times correct, but when I do it wrong, you want to focus on the wrong. There's so much, like, the nuclear bomb. Nuclear energy was supposed to be a marvel of science, but it was created into bombs, destruction. This is the idea. The technology is there for anybody to use it as they see fit. It's just technology. You can use AI to write whatever. You can do bad things with AI and you can do good things with AI. You can use technology to hack into people's accounts. But at the same time, you can change millions of lives with this technology. What you're talking about in terms of corruption was amplified by a company called the Silk Road. Mm-hmm. They were black market and they were using crypto as the form of currency because it was untraceable. Mm-hmm. Ideally, by that time, it was Bitcoin. The Bitcoin that the US government owns comes from the Silk Road. It is what they took back. Mm-hmm. So the US government has Bitcoin. They're not willing to sell it. Check now. Check right now. Everybody Google. Juicy, Biden said he's going to sell all the Bitcoin, and then Trump came and said, no, we're not going to sell all the Bitcoin. That's why right now the campaign is pro Web3. So
this blockchain is coming, is everywhere.
It's coming, bro. It's coming mad. It's like any technology. When we were looking for developers in Web2, they weren't there. Until what happened? Google came and set up an office, and you saw how guys were living, and everybody went and started learning the web.
So what you're saying is we need a monopoly to come in and sort of, or some company like to come in and really take over that Web3 space. Even though there are a couple that are, but maybe a traditional.
No, I like where you're going with this. The idea is like Android and iOS, right? Those are processors that have won. They're not the only ones. Those are the ones we know. So as you just said,
that is true.
There are very many protocols that want to be the global protocol. That's what they're doing now, trying to advocate, teach people on their language so that they can be those people. So the competition is happening now. And you know when there's competition, the money, they flow. They will throw money at, you get money. Imagine, you can multi-chain. That's a thing. You can deploy on multiple chains. So you can go to Lisk, get their money. You can go to another chain, get their money. You're just building up your coffers for your account. And all of these are grants. You don't have to pay them back. They're not loans. They don't want any equity.
They want progress.
That's it. Build on our chain. So when we have 1,000 people deployed in Kenya on their chain, are they not the chain of choice? Like when you go to the US right now, isn't iPhone the biggest seller? When you come to Kenya, is the iPhone a big seller like that? No, Android is the biggest seller. You'll turn around.
What do you think is your biggest chain of choice?
Lisk, definitely. You see, for me, I'm Web2 for many years. So I need somewhere that fits into helping me in transitioning, not coming and trying to tell me what you did in the West.
Oh, you're trying to get now something new. Would Stella fall into?
Yes, absolutely. Stella.
That's where I think my support has lied.
Stella, Solana, but you see, for me, why Lisk? All of these protocols are amazing, but hands-on approach. Be on ground. Don't send us people. Employ our people. That's the people we understand their language, right? Somebody I can talk to like this, and by mistake, a girl comes out of the conversation, you know? As in, when I'm with a sponsor or a big guy, a white guy, let's call him white guy. I'm sitting in that room and I'm telling him I need money. Your mind has gone so far. You're so afraid. You can't even tell him what you need. And you're on virtual now. You're on a screen. You've never done this. I tell you, like, we're doing an application now and you need to submit a video. The people with great businesses, like I know this guy, I know this girl, I know so many people. But I know this guy he's making bracelets. There's people doing recycling. There's so many things happening that are not coming into the space because of a barrier And that's why I say risk, because they'll come. They'll tell you, what's the problem? Okay, it's production. They're trying to set that up for you. It's advocacy. They're trying to do that. As in, they come and they do this training hands-on. They avoid virtual. But if they have to, they do it. It's a way of life. So these protocols that are great. Solana, for example, the cost of interacting on the platform is way, way low.
Yeah, I think every single chain has the benefits, and then so it's up to you to decide what kind of chain, what chain resonates the most with you, and as well as the projects that they're working on, because I think that's really also very key when you're investing in crypto as well. It's like, what are the projects, what's happening in the news, a lot of those factors come into play. So happy to hear that that's the one that you advocate for, and there's a lot of on the ground movement that they're also involved in as well. I think
not to say we haven't worked with the Stella. Gift is a good friend. She was recently in the country.
Yeah, she
was.
was.
You see, as in, that's the thing. I support supporters.
Yeah.
It's not about the technology. It's not about the business.
It's about, that's what I was going to say. It's about progress all around. Actually, we had hosted the Stella Nairobi ecosystem meetup here.
Really?
Where we're recording this as Hanigo. So for a bit of background, I do actually work for a blockchain-enabled company.
You've been keeping this a secret from us.
I mean, is it really a secret? It's just, it's not at the forefront.
You should be.
Maybe I'm part of the problem.
Yes,
I'm
you
not
are.
Help in educating people about this.
But
this is how I'm mitigating it. I have a podcast with people like you. Okay. I'm doing my part in the world.
I'll retract for now. Okay.
Yeah. I think my last question is, I think you've already been touching on it, but it's more to do with funding. Like you've said, maybe there's a lot of sponsors or opportunities that are out there, but not enough people building products. So what would you say people need to do? How do I get my foot in? How can we convince more people that, hey, this is what you need to also be looking at so that you don't miss the train, and this is your entryway, and how to do that?
Okay. So for one, we say in the Web3 space, do your own research. Okay? It's important for you to know more. I don't want you to build yet if you don't know. Because once the money comes, how are you going to take it out? Because I'm asking anybody to put in money. There's that avenue. You can be a trader. You can be a business. You can be an enthusiast. And you know enough about the space to teach it. And that's a job. Marketing, that's a job. This podcast, I tell you, there's sponsors.
You're telling me there's opportunity.
There's sponsors right now. I'll just send your deck right now and you say how much
I have
you
it
need.
on standby.
Yeah, send now, I show you. In 1 week, you'll be having their logo. And I tell you guys, if they come, it was me who did it. So remember.
We'll hold that into account.
So that's the thing. I want people, if I could dox my number, doxing is publish my number here now. And you can leave details in the description.
I'll
leave my email or my Telegram. I don't want to be called in the middle of the night. But ideally, what I'm saying is, we're ready. And that's I'm sorry. So, ideally, now it's conversation.
Yes.
Like right now, when I see your deck and I see what you're doing, I will be able to show you what you can do in Web3. It's that mantra of, when you touch something, you learn easier than when you see something. So I want you to touch your problem. What you have been doing for the last 6 years, for 1 year, for 2 months, whatever it is, that's your passion. I show you how you integrate it with Web3 on a person or a project-to-project base. It's not about the whole ecosystem. I mean, that's the thing. We can't be standing on a mountain.
Yeah.
And this comes from emceeing. So for me, it's, how do you get up on stage and talk to yourself for 2 hours? Just say, hi, this is what I'm doing, the technology. There are guys, like when we're doing this Youth Month campaign, our next event is at ZTech. And I'm standing there and you see somebody lost completely. And then they raise their hand. Because you told them they could.
Yeah.
But what happens in these forums, it's, you go up on stage, hi guys, and speak.
Any questions, then it's done.
Yeah. By the time you're asking any questions, you've blown that person with so many questions. You have to walk with them as the questions appear. Interactive. So that's the model we're championing. Like, I want to be able to stand next to you and tell you, here it is. This is what you need to change.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that hands-on approach, you can feel the impact.
Yeah.
I was being told, like, for example, I had a lot of conversations when we were planning the youth month and we were saying we're going to KU and Catholic University. Guys were like, huko hamtapata watu. There you will not find people. They are not interested. And I'm like, what do you mean they're not interested?
Yeah.
We've gone there. You did it your way. And now you're telling me that our way won't work as well?
Yeah.
Now you're being a naysayer. You're being a negative Nelly in this space. So we went. Guess what? The room was full. Guys asking questions, interacting. I'm even telling them, guys told us not to come here because you guys aren't interested. May I have Binance account? May I have this? I have these coins I want to withdraw. You're wondering, they have WorldCoin, they don't know how to withdraw.
It's true.
There's a guy who had almost 100,000 in WorldCoin tokens and he doesn't know how to remove them. Just teaching him how to do a Binance.
Simple transactions, education, sensitization.
And you see, the thing is, with Web3, the one thing that you always need to remember is community. It is about together. It is not you alone anymore. If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. So the idea is there are people who are going to be there to support you in different ways. Mm-hmm. But those people are always going to be there with you.
Yeah.
It's not this idea. So the thing we're trying to also curb is this idea of you work with a company does it, you dirty, you leave. And then your value and all the money and all the time that you're put into that business is lost. Mm. So this one is an idea for, even if you leave and you go and do something else, still you'll get paid forever. Mm-hmm. And that's the idea. Because this project will come and go. Mm-hmm. WorldCoin, ideally, what they're trying to do, because maybe a lot of people don't know, but they were trying to, that's another thing that brought me to blockchain. And like last year when WorldCoin launched, I was really interested in WorldCoin because I had registered and I had a problem with my account. So for me, I love problems. I just love to find a problem so I'll go in hard to try and solve it. And in solving it, I started educating people on the same problem that I was facing. And all of a sudden I have a following. I'm like, 2,000 people were listening to me talk about how to do this and how to do that.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah.
And people will call me and tell me I want to offer up. I put the video there, how to remove money from the account. But then they want you to stand there with them. And it's okay. If that's the approach we have to do it, then eventually I'll teach 10 people and those 10 people will be teaching
other people. Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. More conversations are happening. I think we'll also take a step back to look at the progress that's happened. I think we are way more educated and know a lot more about Web3 and its presence now than we were even 3 years ago when I first started working at Honeycoin. So I think the last question I have for you is how would you like to end your episode, or what are some of the things that our audience should be keen on that's coming up, and a powerful parting shot that you'd like to leave our audience with?
You've tripled me on that one. So the first
you
one
can
was,
start with what are some of the projects or things that you have lined up or events that our audience should be on the lookout for?
So we are championing a different approach towards everything in terms of the advocacy. So first we started with the Youth Month, where we could teach. Ideally, there's a lot of people. I mean, most of our population in Kenya is the youth. So we wanted to start with them. And example of one thing that we're doing now is, instead of going to campus, we're creating a train where we connect this campus to this campus. Because if I asked you right now, do all the people in your company come from the same university?
No.
So there's no way it's going to work from one university. There has to be different people plugging in. So that's one. We have a boot camp that's coming up with LISC. We have a hacker house that we're trying to start. I just say right now, there's so much in planning, and you just need to follow us on social media, KibokoDAO, on all social media platforms. We do live streams when we do our campus tours. We didn't do it for KU because of some issues with the internet and everything. But in ZTech will have live, so you can come join that. And if you follow us on YouTube, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, you will be live everywhere. As we're doing advocacy in application, not to tell you to come to YouTube. No, where you are is where we'll come.
Where you'll be.
That's what we're doing right now.
I love that.
So right now, do come, call us, email us. On our website right now, you can book a call on our calendar. And I'll come. Somebody else will come. We have a team of guys just dedicated to those calls. We'll help you integrate. So right now, it's more about come.
Just come on.
Just come on board.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll change something. Even if it's just conversation, let's have a coffee. Me, I don't want you to give me anything. I don't want anything in return. I just want to talk about this thing because it's so amazing.
There's so much.
There's so much. And you say, I can't tell you about how to integrate, how to withdraw, how to do. No. You tell me what you do.
What you want.
I sell coffee. Okay. And that's why we'll start the conversation. And eventually, I'll do the document. I'm not asking you for money. If one day you become a success, that's my take home. I can go out and make productions when money runs out and have the money. I can do events. I can do such and such. So for me, it's this time, call me. I have 1 hour calls with people, but usually it's 25 minutes, depending. That's a discovery call, you know? So once I know what the problem is and we can solve it on call, we're not going to wait for you tomorrow. I'll do the documents on call with you for that 1 hour. And I say 1 hour because we have AI. All I need to do is know how to use and prompt it. So me, I do. And people are like, you did this in 10 minutes. Yeah, I plugged ChatGPT and Gamma. Do you use Gamma?
Not as often as I should.
You should. As in this thing, you plug in a document, it removes a slide deck, pitch deck on the other side.
You know what? I really need to use it. I didn't use Gamma, but I use it. I'd make a lot of presentations. So
there's another one I need to give you. It's called napkin.ai.
I feel like that's the one maybe I may have
the one that creates infographics.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, really good one.
So you see, I'm leveraging AI in terms of what it does. I know how it works. Like you said, you know how to make pitch decks.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's just what you
already know and how to complement it. All right. I think that's what we have time for today, but this has been a really insightful conversation. I think I'm definitely convinced to not put it on the back burner and really think about Web3 and the future that it has in store for us. We maybe missed the train when the Microsofts of this world were coming in, but we don't want to miss this train when this new revolution comes in. And I want to thank you so much for coming in and sharing this information and a bit of your story as well. And it's very different from what we typically have, which is someone who has a wealth of experience in tech and less on something different. But I always like engaging with people who are not like hard on technical like I am, just because I still think there's a lot of impact that can be made, even if you're not a developer or a product engineer a product, you know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this conversation, reminder for you to subscribe from wherever you're listening from. Check us out on social media at MyTech Story Africa, where we do content aside from the podcast, and it's super fun, and maybe learn a bit more about the KibokoDAO and what they're going to be up to. And finally, check out our website at mtsafrica.co, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye. Cheers.
Ciao.